Labdien! Šis ir raidījums Nākotnes kapitāls. Raidījums, kurā mēs ne tikai runājam par to, kā investēt, bet paši arī to darām. Mani sauc Raivis Vilons, un šodien mums studijā pievienojas viesis no Lietuvas Andrjus Bičeika, Revolut Holdings Europe padomes loceklis. Hello, Andrjus.
Hello, good afternoon.
Pirms mēs ķeramies pie sarunas ar Andrjusu, es pastāstīšu, kā ir gājis man, Konstantīnam un SEB robo investoram. Konstantīnam un SEB robo investoram ir nelieli pieaugumi. Konstantīnam ir 8,75%, SEB robo investoram ir 15,01%. Savukārt man saistībā ar to, ka Baltijas akcijas ir nedaudz kritušās, 19,2%. Okay, Andrjus, now we can switch to English and...
Latvian was fine, I'm fluent.
No, maybe you can speak it a little
I'm from Šiauliai, for example, so that's very close to Latvian border, but, I don't know, labdien probably, you still use labdien, right?
Labdien. So, you are a representative of Revolut, the first one we have gotten here in the studio, and I am very excited to talk to you because Revolut is one of the probably most popular platforms for transactions and also for investing here in Latvia, definitely, because you guys are on my phone, you guys are on everybody's phone. So, I wanted to ask you, what do people do with Revolut in Baltics? What are the most common features and what are Revolut used for?
It's interesting to remember, for example, when I first, I'm from Lithuania, as you understood, when I first started using Revolut, like long time ago, like 8+ years ago, at the very, very beginning. And as with many other fintechs, it's very important, and maybe that's a free advice for startups and especially fintechs out there that are built in Latvia or elsewhere, whoever watches this show, is that you have to have a killer feature, the main kind of feature which really adds the most value for the customer, right? And in that sense, the killer feature for me back in the day, 8.5 years ago, and still until now, is that I could use my Revolut card in any bankomat, in any ATM machine, and I wouldn't be charged any fee, Otherwise, if you have Swedbank, card, you put it in SEB, SEB bankomat, you would be charged, and vice versa, right? And otherwise, if you need some cash, you would need to run across the town to see where is this bankomat and how can I get it from my bankomat, right? So that was the killer feature, at least for me and my circle of friends back in the days, early days, that helped, to push the word of mouth of why to use Revolut. The second killer feature, especially those, we were in Eurozone already, right? So it wasn't that kind of, whenever we travel, we need a different currency, right? This already was Euro everywhere in, let's say, in majority of Europe, right? But when we travel outside Eurozone, another killer feature is you get kind of, it's hard to say the best in the world, but really, really, really good, right? The best exchange rate, right? And this gets you into the app, right? Into the Revolut app. And then you see that, oh my God, I can also send money to the customers, to my friends on my phone book easily. I can also split bills easily when I have lunch. An interesting thing was I was sitting in one of the restaurants back in the day, again, early days of Revolut in Lithuania, and maybe 10 people, it was business lunch during the day, from another bank, I won't mention the name. They said, okay, does everyone have Revolut? And everyone meant, okay, so we split the bill. Don't need to pay it separately or to do some sort of calculation afterwards in the Excel sheet, etc. It was really interesting. It was another bank, big bank, and then, let's split it on Revolut. And then over time, obviously, we added many other things, and, trading, especially from the big ones, credit cards, loans, and etc., etc. So Baltic users, the users in the Baltic usage patterns are not necessarily very different from other countries. Of course, the countries that are non-Euro are using it more for FX, or they tend to kind of also use it very heavily when they travel, because everywhere they travel, they use Revolut, right? It's not their own currency, right? Especially in the UK, for example, or Czech krona, or Hungary, or like many other countries. So, but now once we're introducing many other services, people jump on these services as well, since they kind of trusted it from the early days with one simple maybe solution, let's say sending money or splitting bill or taking money from ATM for free. Any ATM, I would say. And then they say, okay, this works. And for example, now we have just a few weeks ago introduced eSIM, service. So when you travel, especially outside the EU, because in the EU it's like free roaming, it's basically free. But when you travel to these exotic countries, it's super simple. It's just 2 clicks, and you have a package of 3 gigabytes, 20 gigabytes, depends how much you want to, you think you're gonna spend. You order it within the app, and you activate when you land. It's super simple. My wife just came back from Brazil. She said, wow, that's amazing. I don't need to look for the local SIMs. I don't need to download any other apps of other eSIMs. So up to this day, I still remember my first trip to Riga in 2017, summer 2017, when we had our Rev Rally for local users, top users, somewhere, I don't remember which district, but somewhere there. 100 people. And it was, probably the longest event. 4 hours. They kept us there with questions, is my money safe? My money safe? Is that and that and this and that? And back then, I don't remember exact number, but it was maybe 10,000 people, maybe, now it's 330 something thousand in Latvia. It's 500 plus thousand in Lithuania, understandably, because it's a bigger country. And I forgot the exact number, 150, I think, in Estonia. So we are approaching, and this year it's going to be 1 million in the customers in the Baltics alone.
So it's almost 1/3 of Baltic people who live here.
Yeah, and then don't forget the younger people also getting the card. We just crossed, and I forgot the number. Is it 3 million globally of younger people that have a Revolut card? Like anyone from 6, I think, or 7 years old, they have their own, card, and then they have their own app, to educate themselves, how to save money, how to spend money, and and so on.
Yeah, and one thing you mentioned, like the Latvian people asked a lot of questions, and I'm sure in every country where you work there are so many questions. And the question is about the safety and about the image of the app. Because I remember in the early days of Revolut, it was talked about and it was popular because people at least had the impression that they can get away from paying taxes by using Revolut. If they sell something, buy something, if they hold the money in Revolut, they will be free of burden to pay taxes. Right now, it's not the case, and I want to encourage our viewers to pay taxes and be loyal to government and not try to cheat. But do you see that as well? Are there any doubts, or when you speak with clients, people say, "Oh, it's the app I can use to avoid taxes"? Is there any reputational effect?
Yeah, that's a good point. How to say? I would not tell exactly true if I said that I wasn't also thinking that once we switched into especially the banking side of things, right? Started migrating people into the bank, right? Where it's it's like any other bank, right? Reporting responsibilities into the institutions and so on. That maybe some people would drop and stop using it at all, etc. Because of this imaginary reason, right? That it didn't happen. It didn't happen in the countries where, for example, people didn't stop using us in the countries which adopted euro. For example, Croatia. I was in Croatia when they still had kuna, their local currency. And of course, they used it a lot. They used Revolut a lot because they were topping up, in kuna, and then, wherever they travel, Slovenia, Italy, whatever, which they travel a lot. They would need euros, right? So that's a very natural case for them to use it. And then a lot of people said that back then, oh, all Croatians will stop using Revolut because, you know, there's no need, you know, we'll have euro as well. It doubled, essentially, the usage, right? So this particular case, no, people haven't, you know, or at least of course, people stop using services from time to time, right? But in general, net impact is positive, right? People are growing every day. And it will grow more after this video cast, the years online. When it comes to safety, that's again, the banking license allowed us to get into the point where the money is protected by 100,000 euro, you know, the deposit guarantees scheme. The other thing is that the majority of our, you know, of people's money are still, how to say, safe and with us, right? Our credit portfolio is still very low, right? So even if, you know, by the unlikely event of everyone going to the ATM machines or trying to kind of move the money is still there, unlike with any other kind of any other big banks or like Silicon Valley Bank case, you know, where the money wasn't there and they kind of wasn't liquid enough. The money wasn't liquid enough. So yeah, so look, we're really good in a good position, you know, and what is also good that our market is essentially not the whole of the world, but definitely in the EU is the European Economic Area where our, you know, license and services are reachable to the customers, right? And we have like, you know, the target market is like, how many million? I forgot, 450, 500 million, 500 million, you know, so we will get there. Yeah. Don't worry.
And to our viewers, I can remind again that our tax service can access the data for...
that would be really strange if somebody thinks that, yeah, they can...
No, there was this perception, actually, so especially at the early days of fintech, because people did not maybe understand that if you operate in EU, you have to get the license.
I saw one, sorry for interrupting, I saw one TikTok today, just when going here. The guy was on the boat in America, and I said, I'm going to stay in the boat until the tax reporting period is over, because as I'm in the boat, I'm in no one's land, and I don't need to declare taxes.
Yeah. Well, in
Maybe
Europe...
the advice for the users to swim on the Jelga, what's the river?
Oh, Daugava.
Yeah.
No, yeah, maybe. No, I don't think next month we will have guests from our tax service. We will ask them, but I don't think that's how it works. But yeah, so this show we mainly focus on personal finances and investing. We try to get our audiences more interested in, if not even investing, then at least thinking about their money in a more sustainable and long-term way, not just earning money and spending money, but thinking about the retirement, thinking what I could do with money so the inflation doesn't eat it and so on. So, how popular investing is in Revolut platform? Because I think, at least from the conversations I have with people I know, they like to use Revolut because, like I said at the beginning of the show, you are already in our phones. So what does the data say? How many users invest? And
it's in the EEA, let's say, I'm talking about our kind of European angle. Let's say I'm now going to go down into Baltics angle. If you allow, because actually the data is interesting, you know, and then we'll get back to, you know, the financial literacy and how to increase that. So in Europe, we have more than 3 million, I think, out of 30 million customers in total. More than 3 million customers use the trading application for various reasons. You know, as you said, it's really simple, and especially the ones, especially to get into trading, into investment, and especially to get into these kind of, even my 9-year-old son, you know, I invested on behalf of him, his spare money. I said, so I had to explain what it means to own the company, you know, what share is, which was already kind of interesting for me. You know, how did I explain? He didn't understand. In the end, he still doesn't understand, but, you know, he'll get there. Maybe ChatGPT will answer that. So I said, okay, so what do you like? I asked him, you know, what company do you want to own? And immediately he said the things that we own as a family, right? It's like Apple because there's all these gadgets around. There's Tesla at home as well, so there's like Tesla. You say, oh, McDonald's as well. You know, I like McDonald's. You know, Happy Meal. I said, yeah, they are like traded, right? Then I had to explain it, you know. And then he says, okay, so if we buy Tesla share, okay. So if we break our car, the share will go down, right? You know, so that's his kind of thinking, but it was really kind of nice. So now he's like opening, you know, my app for the investment side of things. He has his I don't remember the fourth one actually, McDonald's, Apple, Tesla. This Mattel. Because of the Hot Wheels, yes. And he sees kind of where it goes, you know, and it's like, you know, now it's actually gone down a lot. You know?
Yeah, especially Tesla.
Exactly. So it's like, you know, I now struggle to explain him because I said, look, this 300 is devaluating, right? It's like depreciating, you know, it's like you have to kind of employ them. And now he sees like 290. And it's like, it doesn't add up for him, right? So I say, oh, but it's a long-term game, you know, don't worry. Which is exactly what some of the viewers may think as well, right? So this is popular, and especially fractional, right? So my boy, you know, he wouldn't be able even to buy for other platforms, not going to mention the names, which are locally, let's say, available from some legacy players, unless it's not fractional, right? So he owns 0.1 share of Tesla, you know, whatever. You get the point, right? Yeah. This is important. So we kind of see that people entering through this angle as well, you know, that's just to starting early age people, you know, students and so on and so forth. The ETFs that we launched, the robo-advisor is also kind of getting it. I think it's from 100 euros. Some of this, again, sorry, you know, like people will find out anyway. Then there is this kind of saving element, you know, the flexible accounts that money market players there, which we plugged in and allowed people to earn daily interest, which is not bad interest, 3-point-something% or whatever the current one is, that people have to check again always, but earn it on the daily, so they don't need to freeze it for 3 months, 6 months, 12 months and lose it if they need it earlier, right? So they can just move it back there. So again, nothing too special in terms of EU, you know, so on the EU level it's kind of good, people getting there, we are growing, we just launched a year and a half ago, I think, for Europe in particular, on that particular license in Lithuania as well. With the Baltics, an interesting thing is, so there's 100,000 customers in the Baltics, especially, I don't remember the breakdown, but let's say equal, because it must be equal, you know, because Estonians are kind of, I think the data shows a bit more literate, not literate.
Financially
exactly.
Financially active,
yeah, because they're closer to the Nordics, which are like Sweden, who is like a champion.
And I mean, they had some good IPOs. NFS Green was very good at the beginning. Now it's also a little bit down, but in general. So but
exactly. Look, so 100,000 users in the Baltics, right? 150 million assets under management. So on average, 1,500 per user. On average, of course, there are users with 10 euros in the trading portfolio. There are users with several 100,000 euros in the trading portfolio. Nothing special in the breakdown. The stocks are always there. The ETFs, it's growing. The robo-advisor is still kind of there. The saving accounts, the flexible saving accounts is still there as well. The interesting thing, which is a bit not shocking, but like how we talk about literacy, because it's a big topic in Lithuania as well, financial literacy. And the National Bank is doing things, and I'm sure in Latvia there's initiatives, and you guys are also educating the audience. The ratio of investments to deposits in the market, right, so available in the banking system, right, is in Lithuania is 9%. That means that all the money that is available there, 91% is held in deposits, right, in the banks, which thankfully now pays something, right, unlike 2 years ago. Exactly. And 9% is invested in something else, right, not deposits, right. The EU average is 50%. right? I'm talking about EU, like even Eastern Europe, I think is even above 50. Yeah, if you take some of the countries. But anyway, let's focus for EU. Average is 50%, and I think Nordics is even higher. Anyway, Latvia is one of the worst, 6%. 6%. That means that people, majority, 94% of all available kind of money is invested into deposits. Again, good that it's kind of making something. And only 6% is invested in other vehicles, investment vehicles. And of course, we say, oh, what's the problem? What's the problem? And a lot of people are discussing that. And I'm really happy that at least at Revolut, right, we kind of get, since people, as you say, have the app and already, we kind of start educating them that are other ways, other alternatives, etc. People like Mintos, the peer-to-peer, you know, not the peer-to-peer, but the platform of platforms, let's put it this way, right? And greetings to Martin, my friend. One of them.
He was here.
So look, thanks to these guys and many other peer-to-peer guys, you know, lending guys and you know, other guys, P2P sector, they are introducing alternatives, right? It's really a matter of people recognizing the alternatives. Obviously, there is a matter of trust and matter of many other kind of you know, circumstances, maybe even a matter of the age of people that are holding all this money, because it's again not a secret. The majority of that wealth, if you look into the total number of billions of euros that held up as deposits in Latvia and Lithuania specifically, those are held by people who already accumulated a lot in their life, and they kind of, you know, this is the kind of the, how to put it nicely, the second half of my life, you know, of my life, I kind of almost have to have it as safe as possible, right? So this is one area. We kind of have to dig into the data, right? However, if you're educated like you are in Sweden or Nordics, right, from the early days, that there are other ways, other alternatives, as I said, P2P or like, you know, ETFs especially, you know, nowadays, or bonds or like, or even like funds, or even owning company, you know, like obviously it's shares, etc. But even when you search for a job, you know, all these tech chill and other conferences with younger people, I say you are in such a lucky position. Don't underestimate it, and don't necessarily seek for the bigger salary. If you can get bigger share options. Or options at the job, right? Whether it's early stage or middle stage startup, especially startup, right? Or even legacy company, if they kind of start promoting. And I see a lot of companies, you know, really like legacy, it's either family business or like, you know, someone which are starting to motivate people with share options, you know, to kind of, because that's what will make you a millionaire. Not the salary in many cases. And the best example of probably all the time is when Microsoft hired Steve Ballmer. He was able to negotiate the share option side so heavily that he, I think, is now richer than Bill Gates himself. Because that's what made him multi-billionaire, 100 billion, whatever the valuation is. So that just shows that there are so many ways, especially if you are, how to say, on politely below 50 years old or something like that, you know, below 40 especially, you know, like early days, just after the university, right, when you don't need to kind of necessarily save all the money for your kind of future, right? You kind of risk a bit more. And that also goes with the kind of, obviously it's not investment advice, but right, it goes with the kind of which stage in life you are, and you know, and so on and so forth, you know. And the other thing, which I kind of noticed in at least in Lithuania, a lot of financial literacy, almost like, and it relates nicely with what I just said, starts with somehow, you know, almost like the general topic about all of these, you know, initiatives there is about saving, rather than making more money.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And what I just said right now is essentially maybe you kind of, you know, when I say making more money, it's like from these kind of other maybe riskier ways, you know, and then you see, and then, you know, if you don't focus as a person for making more money, then don't be angry when you see a Lamborghini in Riga Old Town with the number crypto or hodl, plate. Don't be then angry, because this guy is risked. Because essentially it's a risk. Obviously, all this crypto is also one of the potential ways to kind of invest, right? Anyway, I'm going to stop here if you want to dig deeper.
I want to, you already mentioned crypto, so I want to ask about crypto. No, because I think actually buying crypto physically, because of in quotation marks, because of course you don't buy it physically, is technically very challenging. Actually, you have to have this digital crypto wallet. You have to know how to use it, and it is actually a quite big challenge. Yes. But for example, with platforms like Revolut, it's also, as you mentioned, it's fractional. So I can buy 1,000 of a Bitcoin. I also can do it simply by 2 clicks. So do you see a lot of Baltic users and in general European users using Revolut for crypto? Or?
Yeah, look, I don't want to kind of expand too much on crypto, because it's a service that is provided by our kind of sister companies, not Revolut Bank. But to have crypto to people, what is important? People have to learn either from their mistakes, ideally from their own mistakes, right? To kind of see whether it's kind of working or not working, or do I want to be there, etc. So if it's like crypto, hype around it, and then you kind of you search for the easy way to find out, and then the first boom, I think, happened in 2020 or something, maybe mixing the years, when we had even housewives, and etc. Like people who like discovering it, and then it's like, oh, I'll try it with 10 euros. We'll see what happens, right? And then whether you are on another level where it's like, oh my God, I'll be a billionaire from crypto, where essentially greed is the most motivator, not the data or something else, right? Then you kind of learn that, oh my God, markets can go up and down, right? And this is, I think, one of the most valuable things that we have crypto is the learnings that people can take from volatility of crypto, which is very volatile, right? Just before the Iran attack on Israel, that weekend, I think Bitcoin just dropped 10-12% just in a matter of hours, right? It's super volatile, right? So these guys who are used to, non-volatile things, it's like, oh my God. But for them to be educated on more volatile things, maybe you could do it through similar vehicles like crypto, right? Not with all the money.
Exactly. Yeah.
But especially not with all the money. But then be fine, and don't openly judge somebody who can risk big money, and sometimes they lose everything. Sometimes they gain a lot, right? I'm not necessarily talking about the crypto, but other assets that I mentioned. And those assets can be anything. Can be lending money to your friend's business, signing the agreements and lending money, and maybe asking, whatever, 10-15% of the annual return. But then maybe you will feel better than giving it to some other guys.
Yeah. I think I remember that in the Revolut, not to stay too much on the crypto topic, but I think Revolut platform sometimes offered even some for signing up or for filling out some tests, some small amount of cryptos.
Learning. We have this education platform where we kind of give it for people to educate themselves on different tokens. Let's say.
And that, I think that is pretty good, because also from the general day-to-day conversation. In the last years, I heard a lot of people, like you said, got into investing and just thinking about finances from the crypto side, because there was this big hype. They maybe put in 10 euros, 20 or 100 euros. Maybe they lost, maybe they didn't, but it somehow made them more aware about the financial markets, so like you said, volatility and in general. And then a lot of people asked, okay, why shouldn't I just invest in a big safe company, my 100 euros and such? So a lot of people got into the financial markets thanks to the crypto. So it's good. I have had previous interviews with people from Revolut, and there has been this declared ambition of being this one stop for all my money needs. Yes. So what are the plans? What are the services you can speak about? I understand that naturally there are probably a lot of things you can't now publicly speak about, but what are the...
We still, not that we don't have, how to say, it's all super confidential not to speak about, but it's more like maybe in another way that if we speak about that, then maybe in the end we won't, launch it, because we have so many other things to do that it won't necessarily sound good.
Yeah.
But for the ones that we really set our eyes on, and you're right, our ambition is still continue to be essentially, the super app, or one place to access your all things money, or all the neighboring things money, right? Because we also look at the things like insurance, like travel, this eSIM, as I just mentioned, right? Trading, obviously, and as a neighboring things, right? It's like, if you are getting, if you have money, you're probably traveling once in a while, you need that and that and that, right? So we will expand on that for sure. And we are expanding on that. But even from pragmatic point of view, we have credit and personal loans in the countries where we established kind of branches from legal perspective, not like physical branch, but like from legal perspective. So we're introducing those. But mortgages is a very, very natural next step to really... I know that maybe in our region, it's not necessarily the process, the user experience, let's say, when getting a mortgage, it's not necessarily the worst in Europe, right? The banks are, like the Scandinavian banks, they kind of, talk to you, normally, right? And they kind of, if you're kind of eligible, they kind of provide. But we see that there are potentially areas where we, being digital first, and being super focused on customer experience and getting answers to customers quickly, let's say, and maybe not overloading customers with some illogical steps where you first need to find the flat or house to buy, and then you go to the bank to see if they can give the money for that flat. Maybe we can turn that around and say, okay, if you decide to buy a flat, here is the amount of money we will give you, obviously subject to some valuations, et cetera, but at least you have, pre-committed, essentially.
Yeah,
pre-committed.
This is a big thing, because I remember from my own personal experience of buying a flat. It was a very weird thing, because you go to a physical bank to talk with bank employees, and they are very helpful, they are very friendly, but they can't tell you how much money will they give me. So me and my girlfriend, we just did not understand. So we basically resulted to just, okay, this flat, will you give me money for that? And that is a very long process. So you are saying that you are trying to solve that.
We will definitely aim for these sorts of turning the UX around, because otherwise, of course, the pricing element I cannot comment, because we haven't settled on the pricing element, right? But in many cases in the world, in the digital kind of world, the price may not be the biggest decision factor, especially if it's like a similar price, right? The biggest decision factor maybe, as I said, with the eSIM solution, that I can actually do these things in the app, right? I don't need to go outside the app, etc. So definitely one of the ways to approach this problem, which the guy started speaking about already, the property evaluation thing. Again, it's just ticking the box for the bank or for the not the seller, but the other guys involved in the process, in the value chain. Is that really needed to then pay for 100 or whatever to that? independent evaluator. When you have, especially in the heavy traded, real estate zones, all the data needed in these registers. These are the things that we always look at when launching something.
So, is it already launched?
Yeah, it's not. And look. How to now tell the bad news to the Latvian customers? It's not going to be Latvia as one of the first markets, right? Lithuania will be one of the first markets to launch, with some other bigger markets where we have a majority of bigger penetration of customers to really see how it works and what we need to improve, etc. So maybe Ireland or something. We already announced the plans. That actually even helped to get recruited and to get people to join the teams, etc., etc. So the plan is this year. God will tell how it goes. But yeah, mortgages is very, very natural because we are becoming big. We have more and more deposits, right? It's almost like drowning us to some extent, right? And if we can give more useful, valuable services to our customers, we will do.
Yeah, no, that is very interesting. But how do you see? I mean, it's one of your advantages is that you are a digital app, so you can save a lot of money on employing people in specific places, in renting or buying offices and properties and so on. And there is a huge savings. But isn't that also a somewhat, let's say, a challenge? Because I know a lot of people who, even though if the bank cannot tell them how much money they will get, they still want that human connection, see that face, go into a building, sit on a sofa and talk. So do you see that?
It is a challenge. Look, it's kind of hard to evaluate at the moment. That challenge is more like of the customers that we haven't signed up yet, right? And kind of, and which, it's not a secret, would be, the, how to say, more senior people, right? Elderly people, which is very kind of natural. But at the same time, we have so many people, including elderly and senior people, that are ready to be, to jump, to go into that digital space slowly, as I said. Like maybe not put all their savings in the world, into Revolut from day one, but over time, trust more and more, because. And yeah, it's all a matter of prioritization, right? It's like you still have hundreds of millions of unserved customers by Revolut in Europe, in EU, right? Where you focus your attention, you focus that. And those people's, elderly people's, we leave that job to sign them up for the children and grandchildren. And we know so many thousands of cases where they kind of sign them up and start using. And yes, there will be, people that would always want to sit on the sofa and to chat, maybe have tea or coffee even, and to see there. But you cannot necessarily optimize, and break your business model, or like,
Yeah, but you are sticking to the digital.
And maybe my vision is, and we always want the best for the customer. We're always going to deliver for the customer, and somehow we'll see. Okay, actually, we have to. We just have to do that, right? Yeah. God knows, we'll probably do it if that's the case. But my personal vision, this is my personal vision, that in the future, whenever we will have human interaction in any of the services, whether you need to drive a car, not necessarily but a car yourself, or you need to interact with the human about any of the your stuff, your points, problems, it will be considered as like not problematic, but like inefficient, or insecure, not safe. I'm pretty sure there will be the day, not soon even, then my son, when he grows up, I said, "Dad, I remember when you drove me yourself to school. Wasn't that super unsafe?" you know, and you wouldn't be allowed to drive because it would be super unsafe, and you wouldn't allow to interact with people, not necessarily banking people. You would really rely on things because it will be more efficient, more cheaper, hopefully, and more reliable. You know, but that's kind of my kind of futurologistic approach.
Okay, we'll see. Yeah, but okay, so the time for our show is approaching the end, but we always like to ask our guests, what do they do with their money? Where do they invest? How they save? What assets they use? So please, Andrjus, what do you do with your money?
So look, again, I don't want to kind of put as an investment advice, let's do that. But I probably tried, again, circumstances may be different for your viewers out there. I probably tried quite a few of those assets that we really discussed, even starting with the commodities like, gold, silver, and what else I had? Nickel, I think, when it was really popular before that, and cryptos, and then ETFs, robo-advisories, and P2P, Mintos, and so on. And then, at the moment, if you ask me, I wouldn't necessarily. I am the type of investor who would rely on learning by doing rather than educate. Reading 10 books about ETFs instead of just buying ETF with the amount that I'm comfortable and seeing what happens. Really seeing what happens. Within a year, let's say, even already, you can kind of touch something. Ideally longer. Then I am, investing into some of the VC funds. Then business angel investment, even. So I really want to touch. And if you ask me, I already have quite an opinion on some of those things. Let's say on the VC and angel, I'm kind of a bit more conservative now when I started investing 2-3 years ago, and then it's like others like commodities, for example, are getting back on track. And it's kind of, okay, that was fun when I invested. It's actually not that bad to do that either. Some real estate, very popular, probably in Latvia as well, to buy a flat and rent it, or just to buy and together in some sort of fund, build something and sell it. So I'm super wide, but what helped for me definitely, and some of the assets I'm already kind of, staying away, like crypto, not saying it out loud, crypto, is learning by doing. You cannot read all the books and all the education. Yes, you can do the basics so you don't get scammed, but learning by doing to see if it's kind of, it's like, dating or something, finding a partner. You really need to kind of know, to touch it a bit.
Yeah, definitely. So, do you have something that you invest in regularly, like I don't know, like a pension fund, not even necessarily a real pension fund, but something that you like each month a certain amount of money goes into that because I want to rely on that when I will be 60, 70, 80.
That's a good point. So this type of thing is done with a few investments I have in funds. Which not necessarily these kind of ETF funds. It's more like but ETF could work as well. But with these funds, with some debt fund, that are out there, and that they, so it's the compound interest, right? So I was really surprised. Now I've done with one of the funds 5 years, right? And if you just look at that, they are producing 10% interest, which again they cannot guarantee you because it can go up and down. Course, but it's a debt. It's a good. For me, it was a good, and now it still is that they're lending money with like 12, 13, 14% interest, right? And then whatever the fees are involved, etc. They leave to the investors. Let's say their aim is 10%, right? And if something goes bad with these borrowers, at least we have the asset, right? That they kind of exchange for that. That's similar what you can see in these peer-to-peer investment, crowdfunding. Lending, right? Investors, somebody needs the money, they are ready to pay 15%, 20%. Are you ready to give that money? Face the risk, obviously, but you get the point. But the key element there is, so it's not necessarily that I'm kind of topping up that fund or these kind of platforms, which is not a bad thing to do. It's a good thing to do, to get that curve faster, right? But it's the compound interest. And this is the as Warren Buffett said, this is the magic. It's the 8th miracle of the world.
Yeah. And now also reading a book about the magic of compound interest, and that's very important. Okay, so Andrjus, thank you for your time. Thank you for being here. Paldies skatītājiem. Kā vienmēr, ja ir kādi jautājumi, jūs varat sūtīt uz Nākotnes kapitāls @Delfi LV, un, protams, meklējiet mūs YouTube, Instagramā, TikTokā, Facebookā, un, protams, arī Delfi TV. Paldies, visu labu. Goodbye.
Goodbye.